Good morning, hello and welcome to Trading Hour. I'm Surabhi Upadhyay. With me is Reema Tendulkar, and the Bulls are partying in style. They're ending the year on a high and they've taken out peak 14,000. Lots of analysis coming your way, lots of number crunching. Yes, there's a bit of profit taking that came in after we hit that mark, but some of the big guns are firing today. That's Reliance, bigger banks like ICICI Bank, even HDFC Bank. So you've got the big guns smoking hot. And we'll see how the rest of the day progresses. But right now, it does feel like New Year's Eve, doesn't it, Reema? Morning.
Hi, Surabhi. Absolutely. It feels like New Year's Eve. And what a historic year it's been for our market. It's a year which is marked with so much volatility, unpredictability, polarization. A stock like Divi's Laboratory doubled in 2020. But on the other hand, another nifty, stock, IndusInd Bank was down 40% so far in 2020. 15% of the Nifty stocks, 15 out of the Nifty 50 are still giving you negative returns on a year-to-date basis. It's a year where we've swung from pessimism at 7,500 on the Nifty to optimism at 14,000. But yes, at the end of it, we're ending the year on a high, touching that magical figure of 14,000 on the Nifty. In fact, let's try and retrace this journey on the Nifty. Mangalam has compiled some data. He's looking at the big movers and shakers from levels of 7,511, which was the low that the markets hit this year, to 14,000. Mangalam, it's over to you with the numbers.
Absolutely. What a day, what an year, and what a decade it has been for the markets. At the start of the decade, the Nifty was close to 6,000 and now at 14,000. But don't you forget, at the start of this year, somewhere in the middle around March, the Nifty was close to 7,500, similar to the levels that we saw around 8 years ago. And from then on, the mother of all bull markets started across the world, and Nifty, as well as the Indian markets, were a big beneficiary of that as well. So from 7,500 that the Nifty hit on March 23rd, 24th, it just took it 2 days to, recoil the spring, and the markets went to 8,000. And thereafter, it took 9 sessions. On April 8th, the Nifty hit that 9,000 mark. And then practically every month, we saw the Nifty hit newer levels or reclaim past levels. 10,000 came in June. Then July 20th, we had 11,000. October 12th, we had 12,000. So between July and October, we did have some weakness that we saw in August and September. But thereafter, the secular run continues. Between November and December, we've seen over 1 lakh crores of FII flows that have come by. And it's only poetic that December 31st, the last day of 2020, the Nifty scales Mount 14,000. And what's interesting is that, while it took 34, 60 and 32 sessions for the Nifty to go from 11,000 to 13,000, it just took 26 sessions for the Nifty to grow from 13,000 to 14,000. What's even more interesting are the kind of stocks that led the Nifty from 13,000 to 14,000. We had Adani Ports, ONGC, GAIL, Tata Steel. All these stocks were erstwhile underperformers. Asian Paints being the only exception, which hit record highs sometime in October, and from then on, practically every other week has been hitting record highs. The other big contributors were HDFC Limited, L&T, which came out of a slumber, State Bank of India, and ICICI Bank. What's conspicuous by its absence are the stocks that led the Nifty from 7,000 to 13,000. We did see big moves come by in Reliance. That was an underperformer. But even the auto stocks in the last, 2 months or so, we've seen some misses coming by from M&M as well as Eicher Motors. BPCL Power Grid also were the losers. But if you take a look at the underperformers, here's the list that I'm talking about. The ones that led the Nifty higher were actually underperformers in this journey. So Reliance, case in point, was just up around 2%. Britannia, which surged after the lockdown on hopes of good munching by people, that also was just about flattish in the last 1 month or so. Bajaj Finserv also, which rallied, was underperforming. So the 13,000 to 14,000 mark was led by some new names. Let's see what happens in the next couple of thousand points.
Okay, all right, Mangalam, thanks very much. It's like a good batting lineup, right? The openers kind of took it easy in this last leg. It's the tail enders that decided to come out and hit those balls out of the park. Okay, well, with that analysis, let's bring in our guest on the show, Susmit Patodia, the Associate Director and Fund Manager, PMS at Motilal Oswal AMC, is with us now. Susmit, good to be talking to you. First of all, season's greetings and wish you, your family, your colleagues a very, very happy New Year 2021. I guess the Bulls couldn't have asked for a better comeback, right? And it's been poetic, as Mangalam said, the fact that 14,000 got taken out this morning. Your thoughts on the rally and whether you think there's any hint of maybe a slight excess building up here with this frenzy?
Good morning, Surbhi. Good morning to everyone, and season's greetings to all viewers, to the team at CNBC as well. In terms of the rally, if you just take a step back, I think Mangalam has done a great job. The Nifty is up 15% for the year, which is our long-term average returns, annual return from Nifty. So I'm not sure if COVID is actually eradicated next year. Then maybe this is not one of those extreme bubble movements, as you may be hinting. I think the next 4 or 5 years we are set up for a massive earnings recovery, and if that plays out, then this 15% returns is very possible to achieve going forward as well.
Sushmit. Hi, Sushmit. Morning. This is Reema here. How contingent is the rally to continue from here on if the liquidity doesn't remain supportive? And do you have, are you getting the sign that perhaps liquidity will start tightening in 2021, which will put a brake to this rally? And if we see a correction, how steep could it be on the back of liquidity tightness?
So liquidity is a funny topic. It's very high decibel, but very low signaling value, frankly. We've all been very concerned about the domestic outflow, but if you see it as a percentage of AUM, it's hardly anything yet. So for me, liquidity is more important from a global perspective, which is, if actually COVID gets eradicated next year and all the trillions of dollars that were put into the economy for stimulus or for fill up of the economic loss, what happens to that? If that starts getting pulled back, then it gets interesting because, as we've all seen, most of the liquidity has found its way into assets, whether it be equity, gold, or even Bitcoin for that matter. So liquidity, if it's removed on the back of revival of the economy, then earnings take over and markets don't get knocked out. But if liquidity is removed and the economy doesn't revive, then we have a problem.
Okay, that's an interesting point you made, Susmit, and I don't think it got enough press. The reference to the hype over the outflows from domestic mutual funds. So while I take that point, I mean, what is the sense from here on? Let's leave aside the flows conversation, but just purely going by anecdotal evidence that you're getting from earnings, from some of the real macro indicators, what companies are saying. Do you get the sense that this can sustain into 21?
Are you referring to the outflow?
I'm referring to just the market, the elevated levels we are at.
So market is a function of earnings valuation and in the short-term liquidity, right? For the last 5 years, we had no earnings growth at a Nifty level, at a macro level. One of the major reasons has been the drag from credit cost. And if we believe that credit cost is bottoming out, then we think that the next 4 years, earnings could even double for Nifty. And we've seen this happen. We saw this from 2003 to 6 as well, where Nifty earnings doubled in 3 years. Again, same, coming out of a very elevated credit cost regime, absolutely no economic tailwind then. And now we are heading into, I would say, a space or into a time zone where not only we think credit costs will come off, but there is a little bit of economic tailwind as well. If earnings go up 2 times in the next 4 years, and interest rates remain at about 6-7%, then it's very possible to think about a 12 to 13% CAGR for Nifty as well for the next 4 years. What liquidity does in the short term is anybody's guess. I still think that economies have not healed completely, so pullback of liquidity may not happen as fast as we think.
Sushmit, you've said that you need to be wary of buying overpriced stocks. Which stocks and sectors are looking pricey to you?
So we did an interesting wealth creation study a couple of years ago where we said, if you pay anything more than 3 times PEG, it starts to get into the risky zone. And that's what I would submit as the way to think about pricey stocks. So if you have companies which their long-term potential is to grow at 15 to 20%, and they're trading more than 60, 70 times, that's the time to start getting wary about it. So that's a simple framework that one could use with respect to understanding what is pricey. The last 3 years have been a little different because earnings have just been so impossible to come by. We've had no earnings growth consistently for index. So even if someone grew at 10-15%, they got completely outpriced. But if one were to believe that earnings are now going to become more widespread and a lot more companies will be able to grow at 15% plus, then the premium on low growth comes off significantly. So that's what I would advise caution. Companies whose long-term potential is to grow at 15-17%, if they start trading at 70-80 PE, you need to start becoming cautious, especially when you go into an economic recovery.
So Smith, that's the wider framework that one needs to keep in mind. But now let's also talk themes/sectors, because as the data that Mangalam put out that just highlighted, almost everything's run up in this market, right? There was the pharma, telecom, IT trade that started the bull charge, and then now metals, cement. I mean, everything's kind of running up. So what should be the top portfolio theme or themes for 2021?
So the interesting thing is the top 6 Nifty stocks which have done, the top 6 performing Nifty stocks for the last 12 months have been 3 IT stocks and 3 pharma stocks. If you were to think that COVID gets out of our way in the next 1 or 2 years, then what starts happening? And I think that's where banking sector, especially private banks or corporate banks, they've been sitting on 7 lakh crore of liquidity. At some point, this liquidity will find its way into the hands of the borrowers. They should start doing well. You should have, insurance continues to be one of those decadal themes according to us. Massive underpenetration, huge public sector presence, which is typically a good recipe for companies in India to do well. So I think insurance is the other pick for us. And the third is anything connected to digitization. There are different ways to play it. It could be technology companies. It could be simple companies like credit cards. We all shop online and we need to use credit cards to shop online. But if you believe that e-commerce has finally found its way to tier 3, tier 4 towns, how do you take advantage of that? Unfortunately, we don't have B2C e-commerce companies listed. So you'll have to find Bio8 Media to play that theme.
Sushmit, it's been a pleasure learning from you in 2020. Happy New Year and see you on the other side. It's time now for a CNBC TV 18 year-end question, the year-end market quiz. Mangalam is standing by with the first answer and he's going to give us the second question. Mangalam.
Another hour, another question. Yes, it is time for the CNBC TV 18 year-end market quiz. Remember, prizes to be won on the hour. Well, the previous question was which company generated the highest operating cash flow as a percent of its total income in FY20. We gave you options: Gujarat State Petronet, ONGC, Power Grid and Sun TV. The answer is Power Grid. So all those who answered correctly stand a chance to win. And for all those who didn't, there is time for the second question. Which of these companies was not incorporated between 1900 and 1925? Not incorporated between 1900 and 1925. Was it A, Bata India, B, Britannia, C, ITC, or D, Tata Steel? You have an answer? Write to us. Send us all your answers on Twitter. Post them as a comment on the question tweet on CNBC TV 18 News. Do not forget to use the hashtag CNBC TV 18 Market Quiz. You stand to win a lot of prizes. So now hurry!
Okay, all right. On that note, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back with more updates on the other side.